only wants you to make good beer and have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Keeping the shades down to beat the heat. You know, it's a kitchen sink kind of brew day, although it's also somewhat simplified. Boiling the overall wort down on my little pots. And what I'm doing is making a real simple beer with materials on hand. 10 pounds of Heraclea pills. And then I have these old hops that have been in the freezer, so they won't be as potent, but hopefully I'll get a little bit of hop character. I'm kind of just looking for a blonde, but I'm also hoping to get a little bit of bitterness out of like this hop stand. So these Belmas, which I've never used, but I have in the freezer, 10% alpha acid, half an ounce for the bittering, and then like I said, I'm hoping to get some bittering units. I also have an ounce of Glacier, sample only. Guess that means it was free. So yeah, the other thing is I still have the slurry of the Stalgin, which seems to have worked just fine in the raspberry, 3 fruit wheat beer, which fermented out just fine. Doesn't have overly amount of kvike. Ooh, we're getting foggy. Flavor. It's really fun. Oh, I had this going. I turned it off for noise, but anyway, I should wrap this up. Basically, yeah, I mean, I just want to get a neutral beer. One of the thoughts is I want to actually have a beer on tap to blend with the fruit beer, because the fruit beer is very good, but it's pretty intense, and it really probably, I'm guessing we'll do a video, but maybe like 50-50 would give a fruit flavored beer that would be just fine without, I can't tell how, without sort of burning through my pricey, well, it was free, but you know what I'm saying, like a rare kind of nice rich fruit beer, like overly quick, if I can kind of blend it in the glass. I was also going to be blending it with this wit beer that's too dry, but that might be the one that has to go first before this one can get on tap. So yeah, not anything breaking any boundaries today. Looks like we're still foggy, but hopefully a fun beer out of it. It has been 1 hour of boiling, and I've got the 1.5 ounces of Belma and then this Glacier. And here is going to be a hop stand. So like I said, as you guys know, you can get bitterness from doing this type of thing, and to the point that some people do no boil hops at all. I've had some of these beers that are surprisingly bitter. So I'm hoping that, I mean, it's only going to be like in the upper 1040s, so I'm hoping I'm not going to be overly bittering this, but I don't think so, since I only did a 1/2 ounce at boil, and since they could be 2 or 3 years old, so then they lose some of the alpha acid potency. But in the meantime, there is my giant ditchweed plant. It's 10 feet tall, people. And then I've got these sunflowers are, you know, pretty tall too, but that one plant is just like, I've actually cut out a bunch of them. Planting a cherry tree from a friend. We'll see if that takes, but like here's a stalk of one that was just like leaning over and kind of getting too crazy, and I needed to be able to get to my compost bin. But yeah, it's just been fun to watch, and actually it's legal in Minnesota, so now one day, who knows, maybe I'll try growing the real thing. Alrighty, I don't have a gravity sample taken yet. I'll do that in a second, but what I'm gonna do, here's my Stalgin yeast slurry. Oof, I don't know if I trust myself. Will it sit here? I don't like that. Alright, I'll just have to carry it over there. So what I'm gonna do, as I said before, the idea is that if you pitch more than you need, you will get less Kvike character, because it if it's sort of like working extra hard, everything is sanitized here, the Kvike character comes out more if it's, I won't say stressed. So basically, I think they say you only need like a teaspoon or so. That's 2 tablespoons. I mean, I don't know how long I'm going to keep this stuff around. I mean, that's more than enough. But what the heck, how about a little bit more? So, I'm doing this first because I thought it might kind of like get stuck in here, and when I put the word in there it can wash it down. But yeah, I'll get the gravity reading, get it in the fermenter, and I bet by tonight it'll be going. So it is going to be, it's reading a little over 1050. However, tell me if you ever do this, if you brew this janky way like I do, but I kind of over reduced, so I only got 4.5 gallons, so I topped it off with 2 quarts. However, that is, wait for it, 5 gallons times 4, 20, so 2 is 1/10, so I would have to reduce it by 10%. So quick math is, if it was 1050, I would have to reduce it by 5 points. So I will do the math. I'll get the exact correct original gravity. It will be in the upper 1040s, which is good enough. The other thing I'm going to do is, this floor is 72 degrees according to my gun, which is good. But this is an ice jug, 1.5 liters or something. So right now it's like 72. But I'm just going to keep it as close as I can to 70. And again, I am trying to minimize the Kvike character here, which is not always what you're doing when you're using Kvike yeast, but I just sort of have it on hand. It's a robust, fast yeast. It'll get the job done. And we will check on it later. So last night, maybe about 7 hours after pitching, I checked and it didn't really show many signs of anything. So now it's the next morning, and fortunately it's bubbling away, and there's a krausen. And the other thing is, I did do 2 ice jugs. I got a second one. I got one on each side, and that is keeping it pretty cool at about 70. That's even cooler than this room is because of the ice jugs. And of course, it's the opposite of what you would normally do with Kvike. So that in itself is part of this experiment, I guess. But anyway, happy to see it's rocking and rolling, and honestly it should only be a few days. Maybe a day or so longer now, because I'm not letting it rip at, 80 or 90 plus. But should be good. Belma! And here is this beer that's pretty clear.
Here is this beer that is pretty clear.
And it is, I got all the deets. Cheers. Chipper Gore, that's your new nickname.
Yeah, no joke.
He said that a lot.
He did say it a lot. He seemed...
Is that new?
He was in a glass of wine when I walked in. I was like, alright, here we go, let's go.
Oh, fitty. Okay, so this is the Blending Blonde tasting video and experimental blending portion of the program. It is October like 4th, 5th, something like that today. And this beer was made August 18th. So, good month and a half. A little bit longer than some of my videos when we get around to tasting them, but part of that reason is we had the Norway visitors, so we were busy entertaining them. Chip especially was busy, and this beer just was getting clearer, basically,
Yeah,
and like kind of coming into its own.
Clearer and clearer.
So when it got down to 1010, started at 1050, did ferment at 70, really no more. I used ice jugs. I might have had some of that in the video footage, I don't remember, but I tried to keep it cool. And I mean, I don't think you would guess that that was a Kvike. You might guess it was a clean ale.
Yeah.
Maybe you would guess it was a lager.
Yeah, my immediate impression was
wouldn't-
like, this tastes very Pilsner-like. Like, obviously the malt's there. There is this like dry crispiness to it. Yeah. I don't know what. Not to go off on a Kvike thing, but it's just like when you say I don't know if I would have guessed it's a Kvike at this point in time though. Between like Lutra and Oslo and these Kvikes that do
Sure.
pretty much just strip clean.
What I mean is you don't taste a Kvike fermented at 90 Fahrenheit
it doesn't
and
taste
get all
like cherries. It doesn't
orange.
taste like
Yeah.
things that we've heard they taste like.
But the aroma of the Belma hops, but also there's the 1 ounce of the Glacier. It is, as Chip was saying, I agree, like it's kind of lemony. Previously when I've had this, I've gotten melon, and for specifically I was thinking like a cantaloupe just because it's not like a watermelon, which I don't know if you can smell a watermelon, but you kind of know what a cantaloupe tastes like. You're supposed to get strawberries, berries, fruity, sweet berries, tropical fruits, maybe up to pineapple is listed. Citrus they put, so you could get your orange and your lemon and your grapefruit.
I just think it's a crusher. You're calling it blending blonde. I would just call this drinking blonde.
Oh, you
That's
did.
really good on its own. I'm excited to see what's
Yeah.
going to happen with the blend. And I haven't had the fruit beer in quite some time since you tasted it with our Norwegian folks. Instead of me, I kind of haven't had it. I'm not saying instead. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's been a month probably since I've had that.
Well, we'll get to that in one sec. The Glacier hop is said to contribute. It's a dual-purpose hop, citrus, pear, apricot, but also herbal, woody.
See, I get a more stone fruity vibe than I do tropical, which makes sense because Glaciers went in late as well, right?
There was 1.5 ounce at flame out of Belma, and probably, I don't think I did like 15 minutes and waited and then did the Glacier. It probably all went in at the same time. However, that might be in the video footage. It would for sure be on the brew log.
I get kind of a pear, especially because I've been eating a lot of pears off our neighbor's tree.
Oh.
I can kind of get that. It's a very subtle kind of flavor, right? Pears aren't like super,
Right.
unless they're really, really
No.
ripe and juicy.
No, they're subtle-ish, for sure.
The aftertaste of this, though, does linger in a nice piney, resiny kind of way. So you get kind of this fruit, this zesty, oily fruit, citrus maybe, and then it kind of ends with a lingering, I want to call it bitterness, but it might just be the flavor of that hop.
I mean, 2.5 ounces at flame out can give you some bitterness.
For sure.
And I think that is there. And my goal was always to make a beer that you can drink happily on its own. But my other goal with this beer was to make a beer that wasn't really big and hoppy or really roasty or, you know, I wanted it to be fairly neutral-ish so I could extend the life of my somewhat rare fruit beer. So
super quick again, just explain to me, or remind me your impression of the fruit beer and why you kind of, was it too much?
no, really, honestly, I'm trying to think of an analogy of food, but it wasn't bad on its own or too much on its own. We talked about that in the tasting video of the fruit beer, but really it's just a rarity factor. It's so rare for me to, it is so, I mean, people go pick your raspberries and freeze them and try to come up with 7 or 8 pounds of raspberries. See how long that takes you.
From a backyard.
See how much work that is. Also, there's at least, I think I wrote it down, there's like a couple pounds of backyard plums also. So it's just more of a rare thing. Like, I will make this beer once every 2 or 3 years. Like, I just don't have this many raspberries. If I do, I might possibly do one of my raspberry meads. I've made raspberry apple cider. So it's just more of a rarity thing. It's not about, this is the fruit beer, by the way. But yeah, it's really just about stretching it. But the goal is, so yeah, I would say try some fruit beer on
That's what I
its
was
own.
gonna say. Should I actually?
Yeah, just do a swig of it. The goal is to not diminish the fruit strength, much, but still have it be an enjoyable fruity drink, but have it be using less of the fruit beer. That's the goal.
Quick reminder: not the fruit beers of New Glarus that finish sweet. Like
No,
it has.
That's the other thing.
It's got a hardcore
Tart
fruit essence, but
and
it
dry.
is tart. But it's also not unbearably tart. It's not.
No.
It almost just has. It kind of lacks a little bit of finish because it's like so fruity and it washes over, and then it just kind of dries like
If
a
you're-
white washcloth.
If you've had the New Glarus fruit beers and you have that in your mind,
That's what I was like.
then you're like, yeah, this is
Nope,
not
nope,
that.
nope.
It's more like a cider almost.
It is, yeah. Or it's almost like a Berliner Weiss that's not quite that tart, but it definitely has that kind of lactic-y
So-
acidic finish.
When I've been doing this on the taps, I've been doing kind of like a 50-50. Ooh, here we go. Here's the potentially the what you call it, thumbnail. Thumbnail. Yeah, for me, for my money, and for not trying to overthink it, a 50-50 blend still gets me a fruit beer experience. Put it that way.
Not to question your judgment, but because it is so rare,
By all means.
why not just enjoy it at 100% and stretch it? It's not like you have to drink a pint of it. I guess
No.
I'm kind of lost on the stretching it of a rarity by diluting it.
Well, that's the question is, can you dilute it and so it's like not that different?
Okay.
Like, where's that point? Like 3/4 fruit, just a little bit of a like I don't want it to be like, well, this doesn't taste like a fruit beer now.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely changes it. It adds, now is where I kind of feel that pine and that resin. It really stands out against something that starts so fruity. Now instead of finishing like a white washcloth, it finishes like a hoppier, piney kind of beer, but it's still so fruit forward in general.
So I'm gonna
It's
do.
a little clashy at 50-50.
I might have to maybe get more. Okay, so I'm doing a little more fruit than Blonde in this one.
Yeah, I'd say 50-50. It's kind of a little
I think with like,
hard to take the fruit or to find the fruit.
oh,
It's throughout the entire
interesting.
sip. I feel like the hoppier beer kicks in and kind of like runs the after
I
flavor.
wonder if it's different now than 3 or so weeks ago when the Blonde was hazier, less clear, less defined, more yeast in it. So 3/4 fruit and a little bit of the blending gives maybe a little more fruit character. But we might have to get more fruit if we really care, but I don't really know how much we got.
No, I mean,
If I really, really wanted to do this just to make it stretch, then I would have like dumbed down the hops.
I like that.
Just
This is
done,
about a third.
Okay.
I would have said, honestly, what would have been more fun, and it's like, everything's hindsight. I think I would have tried to brew something that actually does finish a little more residually sweet, so when you blend it, you kind of have the 1-2. Like, I can either have it straight and have it this kind of tart dry,
Right.
or I could blend it, which I don't really know which would brew to keep that residually high, but like,
Just
it'd be nice to get that kind of Glarus fruit beer effect
maybe
on
like
just a tiny bit of it at a time,
you could try to mash high, although I don't really know if I've ever had extremely much difference of results.
Yeah.
You could definitely tone down the hops, and then maybe you would, I don't know if you would do like a tiny bit of crystal or something to just give it a little bit of a sweetness.
I guess I'm thinking out loud, the beer that I think you'd have to blend to make the fruit beer like fun and accentuated would probably be a beer you wouldn't want to drink on its own.
Maybe.
In a weird, At least
Maybe.
for what my brain keeps going to, which is like, how could I make this fruit beer a little
Yeah.
sweeter in the blend so that I have
Or
both
like
worlds?
or like a brown, like a little light sweet brown, like a mild or something. Because New Glarus does the sour brown.
Yeah. And like you said, with
maybe.
some crystal, some special bees, some kind of raisiny thing that like gives off sweetness without being heavy. I don't know.
Well,
it's an interesting project.
Yeah, I mean, at certain ratios, and that might be different for each person, right?
I can never say I like it more at 2/3 fruit, 1/3 blonde
Yeah, so
versus
I might,
half and half.
if I'm just wanting to have a beer to drink, I might go down and I might do 50-50, and I might be like, yep, that has fruit in it. You know, it has some fruit character. Or if you're like, I want to have a strong fruit character,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't put as much of the.
For S's and G's, man, you should make a little simple syrup and dose just a regular pour of the fruit. See if you can't get a little sweetness in there and see if that pops that fruit a little bit. Like the Woodruff syrup, like the syrups they would put in the Berliner Weisse.
That's like back sweetening a dry fruit mead with like just honey.
Back sweeten it as you go.
Well, to
Pour
put it
because
to
you wouldn't want to do the
package
whole
it.
keg. Yeah, yeah.
No, I wouldn't. No, but like you're saying, instead of adding like honey to a dry fruit mead, and then you get this rich fruit character, you could have the little syrup and just do it to your glass. No, I mean I have like you could use you could do something with like the I probably have some concentrate, apple juice concentrate stuff. You could start there. But anyway, that's that. I've been thinking about this project since probably like July or whenever I remember you. And now it's October.
That's cool though. I mean, good on you for brewing often enough to even be able to do like. I don't brew enough to be like, I'm gonna brew a beer to complement another beer. I'm like, dude, what? I'm brewing the beer that I want to drink, not the one I want to mix to.
Well, and like you said, like I did want to make the beer hopefully turn out to be nice on its own, so I could just like have and I certainly have enjoyed that. And actually, when I made the
I like
Blond,
that beer a lot.
I originally had this wit that was too dry, and the thought was to put it in some of that. But then what ended up happening is the wit was the keg that had to go to get the next beer on tap. So
So you just drink it as is.
yeah. Well, I might have squirted some other beer into it. I don't know what I had on tap. I had some other beer.
Done in the basement.
That's
late
what
nights,
I'm. Actually, this was a question. Do you guys blend in the glass? Do you have 2, 3, 4 beers on tap? And I have found like occasionally there's beer that I don't like as much as I hoped for whatever reason, but it's okay. And there it is. I just saw. And it's not a mouse. Anyway,
it looks like a
yeah, you like this. You just squirt something else in there, and then it's like, oh, I like this better. Like I've done that.
rum.
No. Cut it out.
Every beer is a little better with a little rum.
Wow.
Eventually,
I don't know.
after enough of them.
I can't think of a good comparison, or a example, but I have definitely have done that over time, and when you have a few beers on tap, you have that opportunity.
So, just super quick, I like the 1/3 to 2/3 more fruit than the half and half. You've clearly probably done this more than just now. Have you found a ratio you like?
It's just easy to do half and half. I mean, and like I said, if I'm used to drinking this blonde on its own, and I put 50% of the fruit beer in there, then it definitely has like it has more fruit character.
At 50, there's something going on at 50.
50 is not nifty?
Not nifty.
Okay.
No, I just feel like the hops of this are getting in there, but up until that point, it's a little bit of the malt structure, a little bit of the lemony with the raspberry, which are complementing flavors.
I think that this blonde is actually more of a singular defined beer now than it was a few weeks ago when I was kind of first doing this. I think it is more strong and unique. Maybe the yeast was muting it a little bit. When the yeast was more in suspension.
It seems sweet. Yeah. It seems sweeter and fruitier because we've our palate's been a little like bumped up by the acid of the fruit and whatever else happened in there. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get brewing. I gotta get brewing. We've got change.
Like right now?
No, I'm just saying, like, I haven't brewed for a while because we've got this Northern Brewer stores closing, and we're figuring out the new normal for all of us people that are used to just going to the store and buying your stuff. So we're figuring that out. We're gonna get brewing, and we'll have more beer videos for you.
Hello.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Catch you later.